Greetings. Welcome to the page. This is Amari, and we are going to be reading Pictures of the Year, 1995, the Life album, by the editors of Life. Um, the reason I picked this book out when I saw it is because I was born in 1995, and I love that special feeling of seeing what the world was like when you were born, the year you were born, because it's weird. It's like in a way you're there physically, semi physically, and not there as well. And this book basically pictures the year 95. You're going to be seeing a lot of history. O.J. Simpson, his verdict, Oklahoma City bombing, Kobe earthquake, Cal Ripken Jr., I guess he did something, Bosnia, Colin Powell, Million Man March, Pocahontas release. I realize there's going to be a lot we're going to go through. So, um, as we go through the book, I'm not going to read the whole thing through and through entirely. That would take too much work. Basically, just gonna flip through, see what I like, pick some things out. If I can get some exposition, I can because I think I've learned a lot of history up until this point, and we're just gonna blow through and see how we like it. And if you really end up liking the book, I'll detail the publisher and everything, and look online. Maybe you can get yourself a copy. All right, so let's start it off. I like to read the forewords before I really get into the book and everything because we gotta get the essence of what this is. So, what better way to remember 1995 than to see it as it actually unfolded? Who better to compile a photographic record of the year than the editors of Life, America's favorite magazine, Picture magazine, organized chronologically and illustrated with more than 150 photographs. Life album 1995 is a pictorial encyclopedia of the year gone by. Revisited in classic images and insightful texts are the most notable people, places, and events of 1995. From Newt Gingrich to Princess Diana, from Chekina to the Eagle Nebula, from the Peace Accord in Bosnia to the United Nations Golden Anniversary. Memorialized in an elegant portrait gallery of the greats we lost this year. Mickey Mantle, Rose Kennedy, Jerry Garcia, and so many more. Also remembered all this year's worth of fashions, trends, films, and foibles. I don't. I've never seen this word a day in my life. I don't know what a foible is. Looks like a fable. We'll see. But memories fade over time. Not so the power of pictures. All right, here we go. Oh, so we see here. Got the credits, everything like that, and then all that there. So yeah, so copyright 1996. I'll say I'll list the ISBN number in the comments. Right here, it's 1-883-013-08-9 and published by Life Books and yada yada. So it's probably easy to find. So we'll start off with the first picture. This is a bunch of talking content. All right, first picture. Just trying to live. Blood and hope. As I'm guessing they mean Serbian, snipers in a shellfire filled Sarajevo's graveyards, children in the Bosnian capital found ways to be children despite the carnage. Then in November, an agreement in faraway Dayton, Ohio, formally ended the war. I had to pause because uh, I was like, an agreement in Dayton, Ohio. I'm gonna have to look that up because that's the most random city. You would expect it to be actually there. Um, Into the war, allowing Sarahevans to work and play in relative safely for the first time since April of 1992. But Bosnia remained divided, and eventually a NATO force of 60,000 could not fully guarantee peace. Picture by Cedric Gable. And I like how this is because these look these look like graveyards actually. You see I see a little cross there and see how they're lined up. I mean, I hope they're not, but they do look like tombstones, and it just kind of goes to show you like this again. This is why these pictures are so important because you can get a feel for what the world really is at that point. And I have a very harsh sensitivity for how the world treats children because we are children. They're us. They're little babies. Take care of them. But Adam and Eve and all that. Let's go on ahead. discovering wonders. So let's see. Tales from the Crypt. For 7 years, Dr. Kent Weeks, an Egyptologist at Cairo's American University, had dug through tons of rubble seeking the secrets of a tomb long believed barren. In May, he announced his team's discovery. Behind a once hidden door lay the biggest mausoleum in the Valley of Kings. The site, with at least 67 chambers, appeared to be the resting place of 50 sons of Ramses II, Egypt's grandest pharaoh. And he reigned from 1279 to 1212 BC, and the reputed nemesis of Moses. And it's funny because it's like the resting place of 50 of his sons. And if you know the biblical story, when Ramses didn't let Moses free, Yahweh said, "All right, I'm taking your firstborn. Everyone's first. If you ain't got this sheep's blood on your door, that's the blood of your firstborn." And he took his firstborn son. So probably built that tomb up to just be like, no one could ever defeat me. The rest of my sons are here, blah, blah, blah. We probably never got over that firstborn. Never do. Let's see. Whoa. Love pictures like this. Again, I love flash pictures that capture the person as a still, but still has the motion and movement. Look at this. Crazy now. Choosing sides. So this one actually relates to me directly, and you'll see in a minute. Not guilty. In Los Angeles, police geared up for possible riots, but when the verdict was read on October 3rd, O.J. Simpson supporters, like these women in where in the Windank, Windank, I don't know how to pronounce it, in New York, were filled with anything but angry. Were anything but angry. Simpson's opponents and one of his lawyers, Robert Shapiro, assailed the defense team for playing the race card in his trial for murder of his ex-wife Nicole and her friend Ronald Goldman. Race was hard to ignore, however, especially once it was revealed that Lieutenant Mark Furman, accused by the defense of planting evidence, had boasted of framing other black people. After his acquittal, Simpson, facing civil suits brought by the victims' families, vowed to pursue the real illers of illers, gotta keep it good for YouTube, as his primary goal in life, which it was not, because before he died, you could see that boy O.J. Simpson was living after he was in prison. But yeah, so I was born on October 3rd, and this is basically the reaction they had at my birth. Literally, they're shouting and blah 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 blah, like like I'm trying to be born, and they're like looking at the TV and stuff. So that gives you an idea of what it was like for me to be born. Let's go. Oh, and the photo was by Dick Cross. This is very interesting. I love this. Okay, this must be like a bridge or a building because you can see the rebar on the foundations here, going through. The earth roared. The material damage was awesome enough. 5,000 departed, 300,000 homeless, and 50,000 buildings ruined. But the quake that rocked Kobe on January 17th also shook the nation's faith that nature must bow to technological genius. Timbalore-prone Japan took pride in its strict building codes, its disaster training programs, its earthquake prediction research. Yet when the ground opened beneath this port city, it exposed a load of human fallibility. Some earthquake-proof structures, such as the Hanshin Expressway, which is this right here, toppled. Water mains snapped and fires raged unchecked. Red tape snarled rescue efforts. Luckily, the quake on 7.2 on the Richter scale struck at 5:46 a.m. before commuters hit the roads and rails. No one looted. Neighbor helped neighbor, and the Yakuza, Japanese mob, donated food and water. So yeah, um, I actually didn't know anything about this. Japan is a very resilient country. You can kind of understand why they were so rough and rugged for so much of their history, because you're talking about tsunamis and earthquakes being it's a thing there. Not to mention the northern part of Japan, because it's near Russia, gets cold as heck, freezes over, snow everywhere. So, people love going to Japan, but I will warn you, like, you have to be aware of the weather that can happen, because at any moment you can be in Japan, and next thing you know, a humongous earthquake strikes. That's just how it is. But resilient people, as you know, it says here, no one looted, neighbor helped neighbor, and the Yakuza, because even though it's a little mob there, they still got honor. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I wish America could be like this, because I'm letting you know now, if a city of New York, Chicago ended up like this and buildings toppled over and everything, boys are hitting that Louis bag, they hitting that Gucci store, they going all for them Apple Watches. That's just how we are in America. Interesting picture here. What are they doing? So, oh, and again, I had to remember this was a picture taken by Nobuto Hashimoto. So, gotta remember, gotta get them photographers listed. Sad retreat. The United Nations sent troops to Somalia in '92 with a modest goal to keep warring clans from blocking food shipments to starving people. As the UN force swelled to 30K, its mission expanded to nation building, but in this torturing land, outsiders could not impose order. The numbers soon dwindled, and on the 28th of February, the 2,400 remaining troops began their exits, spurring renewed fighting among the Somalis, including at the Mogadishu airport. Airport. At right, a woman pleads with a Pakistani soldier to let her keep her whole. The U.S. Marines have withdrawn in '94. Nearly 2,000 returned, leading a munitional force of 14,000 to guard the evacuation, trading volleys with militiamen. The Yanks exited last, said their commander, Lieutenant General Anthony Zinni. I feel bad that things did not work out. And yeah, very just you can see a tear. You can see a tear rolling down her eye here. And I thought that it almost looked like I thought she was getting whatchamacallit, crucified at first because I thought it was on a stick, but she's actually asking. This is I think this may be a soldier. Yeah, this is a soldier right here. The gun up, finger off the trigger here and everything. Beautiful pattern on this dress right here. But yeah, really tough stuff. Yeah, there were a lot of in the '90s internationally in a lot of places like Latin America and Africa. There was a good amount of war and violence going on during those times. Very unsafe times for people, and overall, even in America, I say that 2 decade period from '70s to '90s was probably the most dangerous time for a lot of Americans, especially us Black Americans. It was very crucial. With the picture by Scott Peterson from Gamma Liaison. Okay, so we got quite a couple pictures here to give you a full scene of what's going on here. So I'm gonna look at this right here too. And also they list the dates with like the month and what happened in that month with some certain things too. I'm not going to go too much into that because it's mostly just all text and a little bit of trivia. It doesn't distract from what we're going on here by the book standards, but to keep things simple, we're going to move along with this. And if you do like the book, again, nice reads, good trivia. A city's agony. The name Grozny means terrible, reflecting Chechen's capital's age-old reputation as a hotbed for fierce rebels and bandits. But nothing could be as terrible as the rain of Russian bombs that pounded the separatist passion in the first weeks of '95. Most of the Grozny's 400K residents fled, leaving guerrillas and a few civilians, mainly ethnic Russians with no relatives to run to in nearby villages. By early February, when the tanks broke through, top left, up here, and President Zokhar Dudyayev, who had declared Chechnya independent in '91, went into hiding. The city lay in ruins. Still, Moscow's forces had taken heavy losses too, and skirmishes continued. In July, after rebels seized hostages at the hospital in Russia, sparking a bloody shootout, the two sides, exhausted, signed a truce. And you can see here villagers. You can see the bomb damage. You can see them, just on their way to get out. City right here, very, smoke and fumes. And these guys here, they're probably trying to get buckets, I'm guessing, of milk or water or some sorts for their own. And I love the exposition right here of old and young, because war affects us all. And for some people, you do wonder, how do some people look so rough like she does and she does. You see her soft face and demeanor. When you go through war and you live life like that, that's how you end up having a very rough texture and look to you. That stress bakes itself in. And it's a sad thing. I want to see some, hopefully I can see a little bit more positivity in here though, because we've seen like 2 wars and an earthquake. So I want to lighten some things up. Let's see. Hillary and Chelsea Clinton, they're on a ride with an elephant. Let's see, we're in South Asia. Oh, again, and I forgot the Jeremy Nickel. Okay, Jeremy Nickel was the photographer here. We have John Gapp's picture right here. So this is Hillary Clinton. They're in South Asia and they're just traveling. Something simple. Hillary, I'm pretty sure that's Hillary right there. She looks pretty happy, or at least pretty satisfied. Or maybe she's really hot because them places be pretty hot. Oh, here's a good one. Some old. I love. Oh, I love these kind of pictures because I'm working in the broadcasting industry. I just love seeing old cameras. It's just my thing. But here we go. Second coming. One good thing came out of the basketball strike in March. Basketball guys Michael Jordan, had retired in 1993 after leading the Bulls to three straight championships. Believing his sports held no more challenges, turned to baseball. But as we all know, he wasn't a bum with the Birmingham Barons. But I mean, he could have been better. But basically, most of us know the story. He came back. He put on number 45. And the funny thing is, they say here Jordan reclaimed his old jersey 23 and began to regain his legendary form. The Bulls stood by their man despite a 100K fine for allowing the switch, um, taken by Robert Koltzoff. But they don't like to talk about how the Orlando Magic basically swiped the Bulls' chances of going to the finals in 1995. And the reason he switched from 45 is because someone said when they saw 45, they didn't think of Michael. They just saw number 45. So he was like, he turned back that clock on 23, and he came back and won three more. So let's see, something a bit more happy. Dang, it's just not. So yeah, so here's a good two-page spread right here. Um, Oscar night, and you've seen some Oscar people. This is Lindsey Gardner in a dress of Amex cards. So this is opulence at its finest. Jodie Foster, some Armani, Andy McDowell. I don't know who that is. Jessica Lange, Holly Hunter, Oprah, Uma Thurman right here. Susan Sheridan and Tim Robbins. John Travolta, and I'm pretty sure that was his then wife, Kelly Preston. You got Tom Hanks here, but Rita Wilson, Courtney Love. I don't know who this lady is, and Madonna with her brother Chris Ciccione. Oh, Quentin Tarantino. That's him too. Best director. They they said best director chances were as slim as this tie. That's pretty funny. I wonder who took the pictures. I don't know who took the pictures. I don't see on this one, but good job on them. Okay. Oh, so you know what? Even though it's a lot of sad things here, this is one of the major events in America. Of our one of our terror attacks in '95, there was a truck bomb that exploded in Oklahoma City, and a reeling nation blamed foreign terrorists. The blast of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building killed 169 people, off 169 people, including more than a dozen children in a daycare center. And surely Americans did not do such things to one another. But after the arrest of a Gulf War vet named Timothy McVeigh, the national soul searching began. The spotlight fell on the rising militia movement, an armed internet surfing underground whose numbers styled themselves patriots. Some of their notions were easy to dismiss. They preached that the UN troops and black helicopters are coming to implant citizens on microchips, but their core ideas were not. Love of guns combined with a hatred of big government had become a mainstream credo, from radio airways to halls of Congress. Were talk jocks and politicians partly responsible for the bombing? Their answers, of course not. And I really like that writing there because even though they kind of let you know the ideas being expunged upon by these people anonymously on the internet, when they bring it down to Congress, kind of makes you think, as Americans, we aren't really taking care of each other. And some of us decide to take care of us in a way that we do not like. But that's that's kind of what we got to go through. So very sad. In RP to these people. Okay, but something a little bit more to bring, just bring us back a little bit. The hip and hot. In '95, we connected in film, fashion, and On TV, men and women gamely share clothing and accessories, makeup, stogies. In cyberspace, Peorians parted with Parisians, and in the clubs, we found clean, though not necessarily clean cut, way to dance. And this is what they're talking about, the stogies and stuff. Because in the 90s, people were becoming. It was the start of the modern era. People were becoming free. It was more acceptable to be, homosexual or to be um, to be in drag. Or you can, hey, dudes walking around sagging their pants, hip hop style, and then you had, girls skirts were shorter, blah blah blah. People, it was a much more quote unquote freedom, but essentially the things you see now was kind of started for real in this era. I consider the 90s the first real era of the America no longer being the 1950s bastion it was, and was now becoming the true melting pot that it was always going to be, accepting so many creeds and creoles here. And we got interesting time period pieces like right here, cyber cafes. At these digitally equipped eateries, caffeinated cyberpans, internet fans network with each other in pals far away. It's on a laptop here, connecting. I wonder how they connected. I guess do they have Wi-Fi or? Because I think I see it's hard. It would be hard for you guys to see, but it looks like there's some cables here on the table. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have like Ethernets under the floors that you connect to modems or whatever. Here we got Trust for success. Less is more was the prevailing rule for men's hair. Some opted for a raggedly crew cut um variation, and oh man, this got so many okay, the once luxuriantly manned Brad Pitt, as well as Keanu Reeves and Jim Carrey. Others chose the Caesar, as in Julius variation, worn by George Clooney. Near left, a star of the year's hottest TV drama, ER. So, Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves, oh my goodness, I forgot what his name was, Jim Carrey and George Clooney. And you also have Antonio Banderas with his little painted nails down here. And, phone dancing from the safer sex 90s, frolicking and from actually soap suds was an exotic but not overly erotic pleasure. So I guess phone parties might have been started there too. There's a lot. The 90s was a very innovative time for in terms of society. And again, I don't really know who took these pictures, but it seems like when they do like the multiple pictures like this, they don't really list the photographer. So we'll take it with what you will. Okay, smiling faces again. Look, good. Some more smiling faces. Here we go. You got Victory. Twice before he had run for president of France, and twice he had lost. But in May, Paris Mayor Jacques Chirac on balcony, this guy right there, 62, became the country's first conservative helmsman since 1981. His victory over Lionel Jospin owed much to a 12% unemployment rate and much to voters' relentlessness. After 14 years under socialist Francois Mitterrand, the French craved change, but perhaps a crucial factor in Chirac's success was his daughter Claude, who, 32, acted as his image consultant. Before she stepped in, the former prime minister had a stodgy, stiff-backed persona. His nickname was Le Bulldozer. Claude got her father to dress more casually, lighten his demeanor, even share a stage with Madonna. And when he won, young Parisians partied in the streets, cheering, faded quickly, however. Chirac soon faced an international uproar over his revival of nuclear testing, strikes and riots over his austerity program, and a campaign of terrorist bombings to protest France's ties to Civil War turned Algeria. Photo taken by Jacques Lagevin. Okay, that's how I'm thinking. So, yeah, another good thing about time is also they show you what's also going around the world at this time too, and it's just interesting. Learning. I have a friend in France, so learning about France's modern history too is very surprising. Also, it's hard to see because it's in between here. This dude has literally one leg off of that balcony to get that shot. That's me. I think. Yeah, this is also like another dude's got his cameras up there. He's got his shit. I mean, his stuff attached to. I don't know. Maybe it's attached to one of his flashes. But this just beautiful picture. But that dude's doing whatever he can to get that. I think that, man, it's crazy, crazy. And it's crazy, so much of a celebration for a guy, only for them to really not like him much later. Skipping on again. Mm, interesting. But let's just keep going. I don't really see nothing much in the cave. What is this? Oh, again, something else in Paris. Okay. 1995, picture taken by Jean Tongo. Panic in Paris. As as such devices go, it was nothing fancy, but on a crowded commuter train, 6 pounds of gunpowder and a crude timer are enough to make the world take notice. The blast at 5:30 p.m. on July 25th off 7 people and wounded 86. It turned Paris Underground St. Michael station right into an outpost of hell, and the country yard of Notre Dame Cathedral into a landing pad for emergency helicopters. It was the worst terrorist attack to hit France since '86, and it was only the first in a series. By year's end, explosions had injured more than 160 people. The bombings kept up in spite of strict security measures. All public trash cans were welded shut, even after police off the prime suspect in the September shootout. The armed Islamic group, a fundamentalist faction in Algeria's civil war, took credit for the violence. They demanded that France cut its ties to their former colony's military regime. Jacques Chirac's government refused, and the terror continued. And it's just again just so interesting learning more about the history of some of these countries and recent things. I would like to ask a Frenchman about these bombings because that's a different kind of paranoia to know when you walk outside and you don't know what's gonna blow up. Yeah, no, that's scary, and I feel for the French people. The French are some strong people because that is also a country where if they feel slighted, it's not just they want you to think that it's only the immigrants and everything causing all the madness and chaos there, but people forget this is the same country that had La Revolution, against their rich, where they took them out them own selves, and there was still madness going on. So we can't act like one certain group of people is like ruining France or anything like that. France has basically been about that action since its inception. You know, it was one of the countries of the old world when it was called Gaul by everybody, and it's still here like that. So it's one of them tough kind of nations, and French people are tough people for a reason. Mm, more sadness though. Let's something. It's more positivity here, right here. Conduct unbecoming. The photo by Mick Smith from the Post and Courier. Shannon Faulkner spent more than 2 years fighting to breach the walls of South Carolina Citadel, but her stay inside was all too brief. On August 13th, thanks to federal court order, Faulkner, 20th, became the first female candidate in the elite state-funded military academy's 153-year history. But on the opening day of Hell Week, an ordeal of nonstop marching, drilling, and verbal abuse, Faulkner was one of the 5 candidates who collapsed from the 102-degree heat. She languished in the infirmary, unable to hold down her food, for most of her remaining time on campus. When she quit on the 18th, by then 22 other freshmen had dropped out. Her classmates whooped Wiggly, like right here. Uh, Faulkner blamed her troubles on nerves. All the stress I've had, I just bottled up inside. But the battle for the Citadel did not end with her defeat. Within a week, 17-year-old Nancy Millette filed suit for a chance to take her place. So I guess these dudes are just happy to be done with, right? Hmm. Yeah, I guess these. I don't know. They're celebrating like the way they kind of worded that. It sounds like they're celebrating her quitting. I don't know. It seems kind of. Hmm. We'll continue on. Sports, some more sports. Here we go. Picture by one of my favorite artists, one of the best artists in the world, Walter Eos. Eos. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm gonna say Eos Jr. The clamor started in the middle of the fifth inning when the game became official. For 20 minutes on the evening of September 6th, Baltimore's Camden Yards rang with the cheers, including those of Bill Clinton, as Cal Ripken Jr. circled the field, slapping fans' hands. Even players in the California Angels dugouts ran out to hug him. The Orioles' affable shortstop had just broken a 56-year-old record, one that had been expected, as the plaque at Yankee Stadium put it, to stand for all time. Lou Gehrig 2,130 consecutive ball games. Ripken, 35, had gone 13 and a half seasons without missing a game. That is a lot of games, man. Ignoring injuries, earning all-star berths, and securing a reputation. In an era when athletic egotism is the rule as the ultimate team player. Although he shrugged it off, if you could play baseball every day, wouldn't you? His feat restored some glory to a strike batter sport. Yeah, when they say ego, the era of egotism, this is the era when like Nike really, because he's wearing them now, really took off with their advertisement. When it was their greatest era of advertisement and their greatest era of sports. So they were magnifying the big time athlete. This is the era of Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, again Cal Ripken and Barry Bonds and uh man Ken Griffey Jr. Tiger Woods. This is when he started out. Tiger Woods. The World Cup came to America again because it was in LA in the '80s and it came back to America. So sports, like all entertainment here, was starting to absolutely explode. And I love seeing all the cameras here, all these little cameras, big cameras, cameras everywhere. Amazing. And think about it, this is all filmed. So a lot of these people too have this moment. This is the clearest moment that you can see from Walter. But every one of these people here taking pictures has this moment somewhere out there. And that's the beauty and the love of the old film, pictures is there's just images out there that we have yet to see of old things that we thought we saw everything of. Okay, now we're getting towards the end of the book, so keep going. Okay, it seems like 1995. It looks pretty bright on the outside, but this seems like a very tumultuous year because I'd say about half of this book has to deal with a lot of war going on. So 95 it seems like there was a lot of action going on. So I guess I really just can't. I guess it's rude of me too, probably to skip over. I guess all the pain and what's going on because, to be quite frank, most of these events have probably shaped so many lives going on today, and some of these wars and these skirmishes and these rivalries never stop. So here we go. Pictured by Scott Sadie for the AP. Return of the Rebels. The 2,000 guerrillas of the Zapatistas National Liberation Army have been hiding in the jungles of southern Mexico since February. When government troops drove them down from the villages, the rebels had seized an uprising the year before. But in October, a ragtag band marched out of the woods, ready to negotiate, led by a pipe-smoking intellectual known as Sub Commander Marcos, near right on horse. So I think they meant this dude right here. The mostly Mayan Zapatistas demanded greater autonomy for the Indians of Chiapas, Mexico's poorest state, and an opening of the political process nationwide. The talks dragged through the winter with little progress, but change in Mexico seems inevitable. The economy is in free fall despite a $20 billion U.S. bailout. Former President Carlos Salinas, accused of corruption, is in exile. His brother, charged with arranging a rival's assassination, is in jail. And after 65 years of unshakable rule, the institutional revolutionary party has begun to wobble. But America, it's funny too, again, because when we think about, they're saying Mexico's economy was in free fall, $20 billion bailout. That's when the NAFTA agreement ended up getting signed, and I think it provided a lot of positivity for Mexican production, but in terms of U.S. economic viability, we all kind of now see we could have done that way better than to outsource so much of uh, our own jobs in our own building industries. Now, who are these guys? Is that Paul McCartney? Oh, these. I think these are the Beatles. Yeah, they're the Beatles. Okay, so by Linda McCartney. Since John Lennon's Xing off in 1980, it has seemed self-evident that a Beatles reunion, long one of pop culture's dearest dreams, would never become a reality. But time and technology can work miracles. And on November 20th, 25 years after the group's bitter breakup, a new Beatles single hit the airwaves. Lennon had composed Free as a Bird in 97. Eventually, Yoko Ono turned over a crude demo tape to the surviving band members. And you see from left, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney in their 50s. They are now in their 70s, 80s. Who's added tracks? Actually, no, I'm 30 years old. So yeah, they're in their 80s now. transformed the song. And Elegiac, bro, you should see some of the words they use. It's spelled Elegiac. I'm not gonna pronounce that. Ditty about family into an I am the walrus style extravaganza. The release is part of a multimedia blitz, a 6-hour TV documentary, a 10-hour collector's edition video, a series of CDs, even a life special issue. And I would like to say to all the artists out here watching this too, definitely think about releasing packages every now and then when you release things, because you want to that's how you build your community for your brand, and that's how you kind of have people more excited beyond what you just have. So if you're an artist with music, maybe when you release some music, you could print some CDs. Not everyone has CDs, but since physical media is making a big comeback, you know CDs might end up working, and you can make it a collector thing too. You don't even have to print that many. Maybe the first 100 people to get your album gets the CD with it, beyond shirts, all kinds of stuff. Like, maybe make your own kind of documentary and have it go to the people who support you. So that's just me just giving some advice, artists. Um, Suddenly, as of old, the Beatles were the year's top earning artists, of course. Was it a happy ending for the old Fab Four, the debut of a revived Fab Three? Think of a circle, said McCartney cryptically. The beginning is the end. Very good words to play. And so here we have, so of course they have something, a whole bunch of other stuff too. This is a century old brick sewer main had a collapse during a rainstorm, brought this building down. But anyways, so this is also more voices. So this is a bunch of quotes from all the people that they found important here and there. So tons and tons and tons of quotes, and happiness, sadness. I think, is that the dude that did that train attack in Japan? Let me see. I'm trying to look who he is. Hmm. I can't tell. Joke by Lance Ito, presiding judge at O.J. Simpson's trial. Lawyer to OJ. I have good news and bad news. What do you want to hear first? OJ, the bad news. Lawyer, the bad news is that it is your blood all over the crime scene, that the DNA proves it. Well, so what's the good news? Lawyer, the good news is that your cholesterol is only 130. That's a funny joke. They both crazy. That's all I gotta say. But here is also their dedication to the actresses, actors, and other peoples that passed away. Like here, Ginger Rogers at 83. It seemed that they were always a part of our lives. We marveled at their talents, laughed at their antics, celebrated their remarkable achievements. The baseball hero who always sung for the fences, the matriarch who gave birth to an American dynasty, the statesman who dared to shake hands with his former foes. No matter that few of us had ever met the people on these pages, their spirits and grace touched our hearts, and we will miss them. And just a collection of people: Jerry Garcia, Howard Cosell, Warren Berger, Louis Mal, William Kunstler, Jonas Salk, Yitzhak Rabin, Yitzhak. Oh, Selena, yeah, that gets a lot of people. She died in 95. Man, shot dead by the founder of her fan club, which is so ironic. Out of all the fan club, Peter Cook. I don't know any of these people, but again, that's why I talk about the way pictures look. Just something beautiful about them. Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy, 104. That's a long time. This is the youngest person so far. Chrissy Taylor, taken by Michael Roberts. I want to look. Despite more than a dozen magazine covers to her credit, the Florida teen lived at home and hung out with high school pals. Her sudden passing raised the specter of drug use, but it was asthma that caused the fatal collapse. Dang, that touches hard to home, because like I have asthma and I kind of developed it at 6, but it's like, again, it's just eerie to see someone who passed the year you were born, especially at 17, and they pass for something that you have, you know. That's why I read stuff like this. You just never know what's going to connect with you when you open these kind of books. And but there's always going to be something. So RIP to all these folks, RIP Chrissy. We're going to finish it off now. Beautiful picture. Oh, farewell to 5 life photographers. So yeah, I can't talk about this without talking about, you know, some of these guys, because these are the kind of people that build up the company for me to even bring this book to you. So Dimitri Kessel, Alfred Eisenstadt, Eisenstadt, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, George Roger, Nina Lean, and Albert Finn. And I definitely cannot wait to see more of their work because I really like this picture right here. This picture is immaculate. It almost looks like a painting. That's properly. This is pretty sad, and we'll probably, hopefully, we can like blur this. I don't know because these are bodies, and you know, YouTube and stuff. But great pictures. I can't wait to look at their work. And here's our last image in here. A Star is Born. Newt, Michael, D, Madonna, Carl, Paul, George, and Ringo. We call these people stars. Some much needed perspective. 7,000 light years away, in the Eagle Nebula, real stars are born. In 1995, the Hubble Space Telescope sent back photographs of this act of creation. No star on Earth has ever shone so bright. So I never knew that this was taken in 95. Of course, I heard you got to put like a bunch of pictures and computer. Astronomy photography is kind of complicated. But either way, this is basically what it's kind of looking like out there. And I didn't know that they produced this in the year I was born too. So again, A Star is Born, talking about me clearly. But anyways, got your table of contents here, everything like that. Last page. And here, Life, celebrating its 60th anniversary in 1995. It's read by more than 115 million people every month. Jacket designed by Tom Bentowski, Marty Golan, and Steve Walkowiak. Printed in the USA. And boom, with the whole list of everything else there that year. I love this book. This is my birth year book, and you know, honestly, I'm a bit sad. There was a lot of cool things that went on here, but I just did, and I didn't even get to the Tokyo nerve gas attack in the train station. So like I honestly did not know there was so much violence, so much upheaval, and just division in the world. I know we have it now because with social media, it's so easy to see how people don't like each other, what wars are going on, and everything. But the world, you know, was just beginning to get hyper connected back then. But it puts perspective into my life to be born during such turbulent times, even though everyone does like to reminisce on the 90s and we love the fashion, we love the movies. You hear people always talking about, you know, the kids don't go outside anymore. Things are simpler. It was a better time. It was a different time because I don't want to say, after seeing what I've seen now, I don't want to say it was a better time. It was a different time. It's a time I know we miss, but reading this book puts into perspective that we're definitely not perfect and the world hasn't really ever had it together. And I would hope that maybe one day we will stop having wars and just understand. Oh no, I don't have to hope. I believe in Yahweh the Most High. So, but one day there won't be any more war. There will not be any more sadness, and you won't cry any tears. And when that day comes, we're all gonna be for the better. But I appreciate what time has done for us in the production of this book, and I would love to see 96, 97, 94, 93, all the other years that they've got, because this is some real interesting stuff. And I recommend you get this book too.